The Calamity Club, a novel by Kathryn Stockett. Print length, 640 pages. Publication date, May 5th, 2026. Oxford, Mississippi, 1933. Abandoned by her mother one Christmas Eve, 11-year-old Meg LaFleur has learned the hard way to rely on no one. Now one of the unadoptable, big girls at the Lafayette County Orphan Asylum, she fights each day to keep her spirit unbowed. Bertie Calhoun, unmarried and outspoken, has come to Oxford to ask her socialite sister to help the struggling family she's left behind. But as the depression tightens its grip, Bertie discovers her sister's seemingly charmed life is a tapestry of lies. Then, Bertie encounters Charlie, a woman running low on luck with little left to lose. When their fates and Meg's converge, Charlie comes up with an audacious plan for them to take control of their lives. But in a place and time where hypocrisy is rife and women's freedom is fragile, even the smallest act of defiance can have dangerous consequences. The Calamity Club will make you laugh, cry, and cheer, an epic testament to underestimated women who know that calamity can be the spark of new beginnings. This is Kathryn Stockett at her most confident, heartfelt, and hilarious, the triumphant return of one of the most beloved storytellers of our time. 5. A novel by Ilona Bannister. Print length, 221 pages. Publication date, May 5th, 2026. Have you ever tried to pass the time by imagining the lives of the strangers standing next to you? Ilona Bannister's 5 introduces readers to 5 seemingly random people waiting for a train. But these are not just any 5 people. From the beginning, we know that one of them is going to die soon. Very soon. In 5 minutes, the next train to London will arrive, killing one of them. But before this happens, you will learn their stories. None of these people are saints. Readers might fall in love with the beautiful young man who is on the verge of gambling his life away. They may pity the cantankerous old woman who has fallen to the ground yet is refusing help. Perhaps readers will look away from the child throwing a tantrum, or judge his mother, who must surely be to blame. And some will be curiously compelled by the successful and damaged businessman orbiting them all. These are the candidates for this morning's misfortune, but they don't know it. Only you know. And you, our complicit reader, will not be able to resist deciding who deserves to walk away and who deserves only 5 more minutes to live. An incredibly original novel that breaks the fourth wall and asks the reader to be judge, jury, and executioner. 5 looks at some of the most complicated issues of contemporary life: motherhood, disability, addiction. Every stranger has a story. And in Ilona Bannister's skillful hands, 5 people's stories come together to create an unforgettable novel. John of John, Oprah's Book Club, a novel by Douglas Stuart. Print length, 409 pages. Publication date, May 5th, 2026. From the Booker Prize-winning and New York Times best-selling author of Shuggie Bain and Young Mungo comes a vivid, moving novel following a young man returning to his Hebridean island home, a portrait of a father's expectations and a son's desires. Out of money and with little to show for his art school education, John Callum MacLeod takes the ferry back home to the Isle of Harris in the Outer Hebrides to find that little has changed except for him. He returns to the windswept croft and the 2 pillars of his childhood. His father John, a sheep farmer, tweed weaver, and lay preacher in the local Presbyterian church, and his maternal grandmother Ella, a profanity-loving Glaswegian whose steady warmth helped Cal weather the sudden departure of his mother. Cal privately wonders if any lonely men might be found on the barren hillsides of home, while John is dismayed by his son's long hair, strange clothes, and seeming unwillingness to be saved. But Cal isn't the only one in the Croft house who is keeping secrets. As lambing season turns to shearing season, the threads holding together the community together become increasingly frayed, and nothing will remain as it was before. John of John is a singular novel about duty, passion, and the transformative power of the truth. It is a magnificent literary work that cements Douglas Stuart's reputation as one of our greatest novelists working today. How to Rule the World, An Education in Power at Stanford University by Theo Baker. Print length, 336 pages. Publication date, May 19, 2026. From Theo Baker, winner of the George Polk Award for his investigation that brought down Stanford's president, comes a revelatory and gripping account of Silicon Valley hubris. Slush funds, shell companies, yacht parties. This is life for Silicon Valley's favored teenagers. 17-year-old Theo Baker showed up for freshman year at Stanford University as a tech-obsessed coder. It seemed like paradise. There were Rodin sculptures next to nuclear laboratories and inventors lounging with Olympians. But Baker soon discovered a culture that embraced corner-cutting, that vested infinite excess and access in the hands of kids with few safeguards to catch bad behavior. Stanford, he realized, was less a school than a business. Its annual budget was nearly twice that of Harvard or Yale, and higher than those of 116 countries. The product? Students, especially those special few identified as the next trillion-dollar startup founders. For them, there were secret societies, pre-idea funding offers, and social calls from billionaires, all with the expectation that these geniuses would soon join the ruling elite. At the helm of this business was Mark Tessier-Levine, a superstar neuroscientist and wealthy biotech executive. But when Baker joined the student newspaper and started poking around the Stanford president's record, he discovered never-reported allegations of research misconduct in studies published across 2 decades bearing Tessier-Levine's name. Only 1 month into college and thousands of miles from home, Baker began receiving anonymous letters, going on stakeouts, and tracking down confidential sources. High-powered lawyers and public relations teams were hired to attack his reporting. Stanford opened an investigation into its own leader, and by the end of the year, Tessier-Levine was out as president. This is the incredible journey of a reluctant teenage reporter who uncovered a story that shook the scientific world and became front-page news across the country. It is also an unprecedented inside view of the students learning to rule the world and what they're learning from those who already do. How to Rule the World is a shocking, hilarious, and moving debut, showcasing Silicon Valley's training ground as never before. Our Perfect Storm by Carley Fortune. Print length, 420 pages. Publication date, May 5, 2026. Frankie and George have been best friends since they were 8 years old. Both passionate, impulsive, and headstrong, they've always clashed and come back together. Until now. It's the eve of Frankie's wedding weekend, and she doesn't know where they stand or even if George will show up as her best man. Then, at the start of the festivities, in walks George. For one glorious evening, surrounded by her loved ones, Frankie's life is finally perfect. But it all comes crashing down when her fiancé dumps her the next morning, leaving only a note as an explanation. Crushed and confused, Frankie returns to her family's home to wallow. But George has a different idea and a plan for healing Frankie's broken heart. He wants her to go on her honeymoon with him for 1 week to the lush rainforests and misty beaches of Tofino. Frankie agrees, seeing the trip for what it really is, one last chance to repair their friendship. Even if it means unearthing secrets and long-buried feelings neither knows how to handle. Even if it means falling apart for good. The Hill, a novel by Harriet Clark. Print length, 273 pages. Publication date, May 5, 2026. Susanna Klein was a baby when her mother got up early one morning to rob a bank with a group of fellow radicals. Now, every Saturday, Susanna lines up at the prison gates among the other children, each dressed as if for celebration. Inside there is a nursery and a cemetery. There are watchful guards and distractible nuns. There are women counting down to release and women like Susanna's mother who will never be released. At home, Susanna is raised by her grandmother, who is entirely unforgiving of her daughter's crime and refuses to visit the prison. Surrounding Susanna are her grandmother's friends, who know one another from their years in the Communist Party and still spend extended cocktail hours debating the Hitler-Stalin Pact. Though these women once insisted on changing the world, they are torn between teaching Susanna how the world works and shielding her from it. Susanna vows to return to the prison forever, but her mother wants her to be free. Harriet Clark's The Hill is an incandescent novel of a child growing up between worlds, the last of 3 generations whose fates have been tied to punishment. It is the tale of a family broken apart by the desire for change, told with irreverent wisdom and visionary force. The Hill brings new music to American fiction. American Rambler, Walking the Trail of Johnny Appleseed by Isaac Fitzgerald. Print length, 338 pages. Publication date, May 12, 2026. As a child, Isaac Fitzgerald was captivated by Johnny Appleseed, drawn to the legend by family ties, his father's larger-than-life stories, and a shared restlessness to leave home and discover what lay beyond. In American Rambler, he sets out on a year-long journey to follow Appleseed's path, walking, sometimes driving, and at one point, even floating downstream, from Massachusetts to Indiana. On this journey, Fitzgerald turns a childhood fascination into a profound reckoning of loss and grief, ritual and faith, grimy gas station bathrooms, and scenic apple picking. He is followed by a mysterious creature, camps in hostile environments, trespasses more than once, and is warmed by the generosity of strangers at every turn. A moving blend of memoir, history, and travelogue, American Rambler is at once an ode to the American heartland, a meditation on escaping the breakneck pace of modern life, and a clear-eyed look at the myths, often violent, sometimes hopeful, frequently romanticized, at the very core of American identity and history. Homebound, a GMA Book Club pick, a novel by Portia Elan. Print length, 304 pages. Publication date, May 5, 2026. It's 1983 and Bex can't wait to get the hell out of Cincinnati. She's 19, blasting her Walkman, and hiding from the fact that her beloved uncle, the only person who understood her, is dead. But she has work to do. He left her a half-finished game to complete. One last collaboration to find her way out of loneliness. Little does she know, what Bex is making will echo far into the future and shape the lives of a scientist, a sentient automaton, and a flinty sea captain in ways she cannot imagine. All are bound together by their search for connection, and by a futuristic traveler on a mysterious mission through space. A novel about our deep interconnectedness, Homebound is a clear-eyed, hopeful adventure into humanity's future and capacity for love. The Family Man, Blood and Betrayal in the House of Murdaugh by James Lasdun. Print length, 428 pages. Publication date, May 5, 2026. In March 2023, Alex Murdaugh was found guilty of murdering his wife and younger son at Moselle, their home in South Carolina's Low Country. By then, the story had become headline news across the country, with its revelations of corruption in high places, massive fraud, opioid abuse, fake suicides, suspicious accidents, and the generational recklessness of the wealthy legal dynasty at its center. Having covered the case for The New Yorker, where his article became the magazine's most read story of the year, the acclaimed novelist James Lasdun brings his long-standing interest in the darker drives of the human psyche to an investigation into the serial embezzlements, fatal boat crash, and other events leading up to the slaughter at Moselle. Justice may have been served, Lasdun writes in the preface to The Family Man, but the human element of the story didn't seem to add up. Having traveled extensively in the Low Country, Lasdun draws on original interviews, including with Murdaugh's notorious cousin Eddie, transcripts of phone calls Murdaugh made from prison, the literature of criminal psychology, and the murder trial itself. Deeply researched, sharply written, and with the page-turning intensity of a Southern Gothic novel, the family man constructs a masterful portrait of Murdaugh and the mind-boggling crimes that wreaked havoc on his community. A violent masterpiece, a novel by Jordan Harper. Print length, 381 pages. Publication date, April 28, 2026. Los Angeles right now. America with its back up against the wall. This Frankenstein's monster of crimes and lurid dreams sewn together into something like a city. A city ready to explode. A Hollywood pedophile is arrested and is ready to tear down the city to get his freedom. A young woman goes missing, and men in black rubber gloves who look like cops clean out her apartment in the middle of the night. And the serial killer known as the LA Ripper is on the loose, leaving tragic/graphic/brutal crime scenes in his wake. 3 people trying to keep their heads above the dirty water will find themselves coming together to unite these strands into one enormous, unspeakable crime. Jake Deal is a gonzo live-streaming nightcrawler, beaming the city's chaos straight to his audience of blood-hungry subscribers, giving them the view from the top of the mushroom cloud. Until a job he can't refuse drags him back into his old life of Hollywood glamour, drugs, sex and sleaze. Armed with cameras and hidden mics, he'll infiltrate private clubs, gather high-class dirt, and stumble onto a conspiracy woven into the center of LA's most powerful men, who call themselves the kids in the candy store. Doug Gibson is a street lawyer who fights for his clients against the army of cops, prosecutors, and judges. He is the knife they bring to the gunfight. But when he's hired by a Hollywood pedophile ready to sell out his friends for a chance for freedom, he'll take on a fight bigger than he could have imagined. And when his client commits suicide in prison, Gibson will have to stop being a weapon and become a warrior. Cara Delgado works for an underground private concierge company, a Make-A-Wish foundation for the terminally rich. She scores drugs, makes connections, and plans multi-million-dollar sex parties. She has learned the secret truth of this world. There are no rules, only prices. Her best friend Phoebe has gone missing, and Kara's the only person who knows that Phoebe's place was wiped clean of evidence by men in black rubber gloves. But when she begins to unravel the mystery of what happened to Phoebe and its connection to the killer known as the LA Ripper, it will drag her into the dark heart of the city. As Jake, Doug, and Kara all investigate these crimes, they'll encounter ketamine-addled sitcom stars, bloody riots, homeless gangsters, a killer cop on death row, secret vaults in Beverly Hills, tech bro orgies, medical cannibals, true crime junkies, private security wetwork teams, reality shows, street takeovers, car chases, coyotes, a sadistic Tarzan, and a 3-day, $50 million wedding before everything is revealed and they must each make their choice about how to fight back in. This violent world before the bloody, blazing conclusion.